Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar in which we'll discuss all the elements that impact well-being of veterinary teams. My name is Liv Ogińska. I'm a veterinary surgeon, positive psychology and emotion intelligence coach, and a certified workplace conflict mediator. I'm a creator of Human Savvy Movement, previously known as Vet Gone Real, and I would love to share with you my experience as a veterinary surgeon, as a coach, someone who works with teams around the world and helps them to create a truly human-friendly workplaces. A little bit about myself. So as I mentioned, I am a surgeon. I'm still a practicing vet. I think it's very important for me to know how it is to be there on the floor, how it is to be a practitioner. But most of my time I devote now to working with both individuals and teams, and also the leaders, because leaders set the tone for the organization. Leaders have so much power and an impact within the workplace. So supporting them means supporting the whole practices. And this is a little map of my coaches, my leaders, my teams that I work with. And as you can see, they are spread all over the world. There are many different places in the world of many different backgrounds, nationalities, religions. All of those people, even though seemingly so different, they have so much in common. And what we all have in common, we are now recovering from the global pandemic, but also there are many other changes, economical changes that also make our life as veterinary professionals different and sometimes much more challenging. So how does that world look now? How did the veterinary industry change post-pandemic? Well, those of you who are clinicians as well, who had a chance to practice medicine during the pandemic, know very well that the way we work was really, really different. So many things changed. We left our cozy, nice and warm clinics, and we started consulting outside, in a car, on a curbside, in rain or sunshine, some of us in the snow. But we needed to work differently. We needed to adjust. We needed to be flexible to do what we are supposed to be doing, but also in completely new conditions. And talking to clients, communicating with them was so different, through a window or through the door, through a little slot when we couldn't really see each other, with masks, unable to communicate fully and openly as we used to. We were obviously trying to protect ourselves, so wearing all the PPE and really trying to stay safe and healthy so that we can then help our patients regardless of the danger outside, regardless of that virus that was really dangerous to everyone involved. But we didn't give up. We protected ourselves and we kept working. And unfortunately, not many people were that perfectly understanding of the new conditions that we were facing, that we needed to work in. Some of the clients were incredibly distressed because of the pandemic, because of the situation that was happening in the world. So their stress, it was something that we could feel on ourselves. It was something that was another obstacle in getting through to that customer, to that client who needed to cooperate with us. So their distress turned into our distress, and very often that turned into our patient distress. And unfortunately, when people are experiencing a lot of emotions, those difficult negative emotions, it shows up as incivility, as negative, difficult behaviors. And a survey performed in 2021 by BVA showed that 50% of veterinary practitioners felt intimidated by clients' language or behavior, which was an increase of 10 percentage points since the same question was asked 2 years before. And unfortunately, it's not only the verbal abuse that veterinary professionals needed to sustain, but also physical abuse. And these are the examples of the physical challenges that we experience. Some of the veterinary professionals in the world felt physically endangered, even by their clients. But what we all experience, regardless of our nationality and the country where we live in, we still are exposed to the danger from our patients. And if the patients are even more distressed by being detached from their owners, from their parents, if they are super stressed because suddenly they're being taken away by strangers into the clinic, their behavior becomes more severe, and then our hands, our skin, our bodies suffer because of that aggression that appears through the stress, the additional pressure. And all the sources of stress and pressure, from the clients, from our patients, from the pandemic around, from the new situation, our need to be very flexible, all those elements, they accumulate. And it's very difficult to avoid interpersonal conflicts if we are in that situation. So what we observed in pandemic very, very often were conflicts within the team, disagreements that wouldn't have been there normally. The team dynamics changed and shifted, and we realized how important they are for our well-being. So let's jump into the realizations from the time of pandemic. What did we learn? What do we know now that we didn't know beforehand? How did our industry change since early 2020? Well, some of us definitely recognize that we don't enjoy working those severe conditions, that we are actually really blessed to have our warm clinics, the roof over our heads, that our health, physical health, is really fragile, that we need to protect it, that we really, really need to prioritize our physical health. Also, we definitely realize that we don't enjoy the physical or verbal abuse from our clients. And our poor receptionists, those people who are at the very front of that first reaction coming from the clients, they can definitely tell you that was a tough time and we don't enjoy it and we are sick of it. We don't want to experience that anymore, the abuse coming from clients. And then some of us realized also that we sometimes need to be nearly superheroes. We need to do so many things in the same time. We need to compute the information. We need to work physically. Obviously, we are partially physical workers. And then we should suddenly grow a lot of hands and arms to be able to do it. And that can become really overwhelming. And especially if we are in a situation where we can't really make our own decisions, where we don't have enough autonomy, our hands feel tied. We feel unable to work the way we want to work, to keep up with the gold standard. And because of that, unfortunately, there are voices in our veterinary world that say that I feel just like a pawn in this game, that I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel that I have a power over my decisions, that I can decide for myself, that I need to follow some protocols that I don't always agree with. And that lack of autonomy really, really changes our behavior, our health, and our performance. And even though we tried our very best, very often, many of us were still asked for more from the management, from the leaders, but also from our colleagues and our clients. Everyone around was demanding a lot. So the team, but especially the leaders, those who are at the front of our team, those who guide us like a flock, those who tell us which direction we should choose and how to approach the challenges, the veterinary leaders, they suddenly gain a new role of people who not only make sure that the business is running smoothly, that the team is efficient, but also those people have a huge power over our mental and physical health, because they can really change our environment. They can impact how we will take care of ourselves and how they will take care of us. And finally, one of the realizations for many people, especially the auxiliary, the nurses, the technicians, those for whom the finances were always quite a challenge during the pandemic, they often realize that the amount of stress that we go through, sometimes it's not worth the money that we are paid for. And many people left, and many people are thinking about leaving because they can find better pay and more stable future somewhere else. But thankfully, there were also good realizations. Just like I mentioned, that our team really impacts how we feel, how we perform. The good teams can be a remedy to our stress, to our suffering, emotional, sometimes physical. A lot of teams thankfully realize that they are a family and they can support one another even in the most challenging times of hardship. And for those who found out the opposite, that the team is really not helpful, the team dynamics are not serving their health, those people started seeking different situations, different environments, and different teams. The employee turnover really increased because people started looking for the places where they wouldn't be accused, that they wouldn't be maybe part of conflict, where there would be less incivility, the places where they could feel safe, psychologically safe. And finally, the realization that all of us had, regardless of our role, of our position, or our place in the world, is that we certainly have loads of emotions. That's a natural part of being a human, to have so many emotions attached to our work life. And those emotions, they cannot be ignored. They cannot be removed. They are a part of us, of who we are, and we need to pay attention to them. We need to listen to them and respond appropriately. And for those of you who worked in teams where negativity was overwhelming, when there was much more challenge than hope during the challenging time, when there was much more negativity than positive emotions, you will know that at some point we cannot take any more. We cannot handle even more complaining, even more moaning, either from clients or from our teammates, that we stop accepting it and we start rejecting. We start saying no, that we don't want to go through that anymore, that I have enough problems of my own, that I don't want to have even more coming from you. So we start protecting ourselves against that vast amount of negativity. And as a result, the huge organizations in the world, they started being more interested in actually looking into the ways of supporting veterinary professionals, because struggle has become so apparent. The amount of people who suffer emotionally, who suffer intellectually, who suffer on every level, sometimes at the same time, the amount of suicide in the world, that is visible. That is something that we cannot ignore anymore. And it's something that we certainly need to start taking into account when we plan our business, when we plan the future of our clinic. Because if we are under constant stress and our mental health really suffers all the time, we might step into the state of amygdala or emotional hijack. And that is a state where we simply just had enough of the stress of all those difficult moments, and we stop thinking logically. And this is where our patients become endangered. The patient safety suffers. This is where we really cannot be good veterinary professionals because of the amount of the stress. So the result of the pandemic is hopefully the increased awareness of the importance of managing our mental health and supporting it, because if we don't, then our patients will certainly suffer. And that state of being unable to think logically, it's called a frazzle. And it's been described by neuroscientists as a neural state in which emotional upsurges hamper the workings of the brain's executive center. The neurobiology of frazzle reflects the body's default plan for emergency. What it means is that when we experience so much negativity and stress, our body is getting ready to protect itself. We are focusing on the survival. We are in that fight, flight, freeze state where we try to protect ourselves, and we simply don't have space for logical thinking and decision making. So we become very primal in this process because we need to survive. It's our aim as human species to survive, and those higher functions, they become less cherished, less nurtured, and they step on the back burner. And it definitely happened. And as part of my research around this topic, I asked a question. It was on Facebook. In one of the groups, I asked people there, veterinary professionals, have you ever witnessed someone in the state of frazzle or that emotional hijack, when we just explode, when we cannot control ourselves, or if we cannot think logically and we start making mistakes? And this is what they said. These are the answers. So feel free to pause this recording and have a read. But situations described in here, they are literally the situations that happened in our clinical work. There's many, many more. Many, many more in the world. So what happens to people who are so distressed? People who go through that state of frazzle or emotional hijack, we become gradually disengaged. We start lacking the purpose or meaning in what we're doing because we focus solely on survival. We become exhausted and we have a lot of physical signs like headaches, dry mouth, sweaty palms, all the clinical signs of stress. Our mental distance increases. So we become detached from our job and we feel a lot of negativity and we can become cynical. But also we feel unappreciated, and we don't have that much sense of satisfaction anymore. Our professional efficacy is reduced, we become distracted, and we lack autonomy. And all those elements can be described with one word: burnout. It's not only pandemic that takes us to the state of burnout. It's years before that, where the certain structures in our industry, the certain mindset, certain ways of working, certain attitudes takes us to that state. And unfortunately, there is a very, very high percentage of our colleagues in the profession who suffer with burnout now. The research shows that 4 in 10 veterinary surgeons said that they were actively thinking about quitting. And that is the result of the burnout, the stress, the overwhelm. We don't want to be where we are anymore. We don't want to be doing what we used to do. We want to change. We want something different. We want something better. And a 72.5% of veterinary professionals in a big survey performed by AVA said that they feel they regularly leave work feeling emotionally drained. And those emotions as something that very often we neglected in our profession, our industry, they start coming to the surface, that they actually are there, that we do have them. They do have an impact of how well we work on our jobs, on our health. They are there. So we cannot ignore them anymore. We cannot pretend that we don't have emotions. And here's the response from those large organizations that I mentioned very shortly before. Those organizations like AVA, RCVS, AVMA, places in different countries in the world. Those organizations, they started really focusing on supporting well-being. And thank God, it's a really good progress. It's a really good direction. And all of them focus on the term well-being. Well-being of the veterinary professionals, individuals' well-being, team well-being. We want people to thrive. And to be able to approach that topic really, really well, to understand it really well, we need to learn more about it. We need to understand the foundation of the topic of well-being. And this is what I would like to make more clear and really understandable and also actionable for you today in this webinar. So what is well-being? To some of us, the word well-being might have a connotation to one of those things: meditation, mindfulness, yoga. Some people might be thinking about healthy food, or being veggie, or maybe changing the lifestyle. To some of you, it might have a connotation to being really warm, hugs, and other signs of physical support, mental support, so being that warm and fuzzy. But is it everything? Is it what it truly is? Because to some of you, all those elements that I just described, they can sound a little bit silly, a bit like a unicorn party, something that professionals, serious clinicians, people who know their job, who need to be really good and focused, really, really professional, this is not something that those people would be really interested in. But in all fairness, even though we might have that initial thought of, what is that? What is that unicorn party? Well-being, it's not sweet and fluffy. Well-being is actually really tough and robust, very much research-based, but also humanity-based. And it's something that if we don't understand it and we don't pay attention to it, we will never utilize it to our advantage. So let's take a deep step into well-being. Let's understand it really, really well. In order to do that, we need to start looking at veterinary teams from a little bit different perspective. We need to start seeing more. Because when we look at your team, whether you are a small animal vet, a farm animal vet, if you are a nurse technician working with equine patients, we very often see our professionalism, our knowledge, our skills, our professional masks. But underneath those scraps, those stethoscope, and that large amount of the knowledge and professionalism, there is something hidden. Something very important that we really cannot neglect. What is hidden there is our humanity. Because without all those scraps and stethoscopes and masks, we are all human. Body and flesh. All of us. No exceptions. And what it also means, more importantly, is that as human beings, we have a need to understand. We do get impatient. We get tired. Sometimes we distrust or feel shame. We have hopes. And we also have doubts. Sometimes we get grumpy and we can be very self-critical. And we also very much fear change. And there's a lot of change in the modern veterinary world. And it's hard to face it because of our humanity. And in very simple words, we have emotions. And I said that, I think, a couple of times today already, that those emotions, they do come to the surface. So we need to start utilizing them, understanding them, and really allowing them to guide us in the right direction. And that includes leaders. Because leaders are humans as well, just like us. And this is the quote that I really, really like, because it really highlights the importance of our humanity. The most exciting breakthroughs of the 21st century will not occur because of technology, but because of an expanding concept of what it means to be human. Which means that it's great to develop the equipment, the materials, the processes, our buildings, organizations in general. However, without including humans in that development and investment, there will be no one left to utilize the technology, the buildings, the equipment. So, as human beings, what makes us well? We just discussed that in order to understand the well-being, we need to know that we are deeply human. That entails a lot of elements, including emotions. So now, what makes us well? What makes us feel healthy and strong? What psychology tells us is that pyramid that many of you will be very familiar with, the Maslow's pyramid of needs. And what it describes is all those needs that we have, regardless of our profession, really, as human beings. And at the very bottom, we can see the physiological needs, so food, water, warmth, and rest. Obviously, without taking care of those, we really cannot perform well. If you're starving or if you're freezing, you cannot think clearly. You can't be a good professional. Then at the next level, we can see the safety needs, security, safety. And it's not only physical, that we feel that there's no physical danger that could jeopardize our health, but also psychological safety. And there's a lot of different definitions, and we'll talk about them more about psychological safety, but in very simple words, feeling safe psychologically is knowing that I can be my imperfect human self. And as long as I'm doing my very best, but I'm not perfect, now that is okay. And I don't need to live in fear of judgment, criticism, being ostracized or kicked out from my place just because I make a mistake or ask a question. Then the next need that is in the pyramid is the need for belongingness and love. And it sounds a bit wishy-washy, need for love and belonging, but it basically means that we feel that we are part of this tribe. We are deeply tribal creatures. We need to feel that we belong in this place. And this is what a lot of veterinary professionals struggle with in their workplaces. Because if you don't feel that this is your place, that you're accepted there, that you belong and that you're wanted there, why would you stay? Why would you bother to work hard? And the same applies to the next need, the esteem need, the need for appreciation, the need to be seen. If we are not seen, if our actions are not appreciated, if no one seems to notice how much we do, how hard we work, why should we bother to stay? And then that's another factor that contributes to our high employee turnover. And finally, at the top of the pyramid, we can find the self-actualization. And in very simple words, again, it means that I feel that I'm in the right place, doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing with my life, using my strengths, regardless of my shortcomings and weaknesses. I am giving it my best, and it gives me satisfaction. So this is self-actualization. And all those elements, they are crucial for the well-being of every single one of us in our private life, in our professional life. So where to start? How can we, first of all, find out where our employees, our teammates are with all those needs? Are they fulfilled or not? Do they feel safe? Do they feel appreciated? What can we do to find out where we are at? And most importantly, what can we do about this? So we need to start somewhere. We need to find ourselves on a map. We need to see a little sign, you are here. Because if you know where you are, then you know that you can choose a different direction and you can follow that direction, different path. But without the realization of your current state, you can't really progress. You need to know a lot about yourself in that very moment and your team in that very moment in time. So I would like to encourage all of you to do a little quick test with me. I'll ask you a set of questions and feel free to pause this video and think about the answers. And in each question, I'll ask you to consider one of the elements and score them from 0 to 10. 10 meaning it's fantastic, this is the best version possible. 0 meaning that we are not good at this. This is not happening. This is not where it should be. We are not in the right place there. Okay, so let's go ahead with the first question. Let's score this statement. I feel completely safe to express my true opinions and concerns and ask questions at work. 10 meaning 100%. I feel super safe, no problem whatsoever. 0 meaning I feel completely unsafe. I feel intimidated. I cannot ask questions. I'm hiding my true opinions. Some people might say that I'm living a lie because I never express who I truly am. 0 to 10. Okay, second question. Second statement to score. If I make a mistake on this team, it is never held against me. 10 meaning absolutely never. I made a lot of mistakes. I was never accused. I was never blamed for making them. 0 meaning whenever something happens, there are people who point fingers. There'll be people who will be the first ones to blame others. The third statement. I feel that my teammates always treat each other as equals. No one seems to feel negative emotions towards a different social group or profession. So, for example, nurses against reception. And no one seems to think that they are better than others. And if you say, yeah, this is 10, then you're probably saying we are all equals. There's no one who will feel that they're better than others. We have no silos, no divisions, no groups, no gossiping groups that would blame one another. We are really, really, truly unified. 0 meaning we are quite divided. There's a lot of animosity between the groups. There's negativity there. Maybe some people think that they are better than others. Fourth statement. I receive regular, constructive, and helpful feedback from my peers and my supervisors. 10 meaning, yes, very regular, every month, every week, maybe even. We have a very open, constructive chat that allows me to grow. 0 meaning I don't remember the last time I had a proper feedback session with my peers or supervisors. Where are you at? Number 5. My unique skills and talents are valued and utilized. I feel fulfilled professionally. 10, if this is your answer, means 100%. People know what I'm good at and I am able to use my skills. My potential is fully utilized. 0 meaning that I just do what I'm told to do. I'm good at something, but I don't really practice it. Maybe no one ever asked me about what I'm really good at. Maybe no one noticed what I'm good at. And number 6, I feel that I am progressing in my professional life and that I have full support of my management in pursuing my goals. If your answer is 10, then you might think that, yeah, I have a lot of goals and management is always supportive with finances, with attitude. I'm very much encouraged to grow in the direction that I prefer. 0 means that I feel stuck. I don't feel supported. I don't think anyone even cares about my progress. That would be the lowest score. Where are you at between 0 and 10? And 7, my peers and leaders know very well how to make me feel appreciated, and they do so on a daily basis. 10 means that yes, I feel very much appreciated. I know that other people value me. They tell me that, they show me that in different ways. There's many languages of appreciation. And I do feel needed in here. I know that I matter. 0, meaning none of those. That I feel dispensable. That I don't feel that anyone would even notice if I was gone. 8, I feel comfortable and skilled in the interactions with people who suffer mentally. And if you're choosing the 10 as an answer, you might be saying that, yes, I feel very, very comfortable. I know what to do when someone suffers mentally. I know how to respond to them, how to support them. It doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. I know what to do. Very simple words. And if you're scoring that 0, it means that I really don't know what to do. I don't feel comfortable. And I maybe even avoid people who suffer mentally, emotionally. Number 9, we're nearly there. Let's score this statement. I never, never criticize myself or ruminate over my mistakes. From my experience as someone who talks to veterinary professionals every single day from many different places on this planet, I think I've never heard someone saying 10. Yeah, I never criticize myself. Most of the people will be probably lower on the scale, so I really wonder what yours will be. And the final question. Let's score this statement. My leaders are not afraid of innovation. They always listen to my ideas, and they always make sure that we are updated on the progress of introducing the changes. What I'm asking here about is, do your leaders really absorb the ideas, the information that comes from the team? Is that process smooth of offering the solutions to your leaders? Do you feel accepted when they bring a new idea? And are you updated on the progress? Is it being put into action? Not only listened to, not only acknowledged, but also putting into some palpable results. 10 meaning 100% true. 0, not at all. So the moment of truth. Maybe you want to pause for a second, you want to take a look at the answers, at the scores that you chose for those 10 statements. But which statements, questions scored below 7? Take a look at them. Pay attention to them. Because those elements from 1 to 10, those statements, they describe 10 elements of the well-being that, from the experience of working with veterinary professionals, from the perspective of emotional intelligence, organizational psychology, and from my clinical perspective as well, I gather together in here, in those categories. And each category refers to each statement that you got. So the first one is psychological safety. The second one as well. Both of them, because psychological safety is very complex. There's a lot of elements to it. Now, the third statement referred to the sense of belongingness. The fourth described the clear, timely, and safe communication. Number 5, it was all about values, talents, and purpose. Number 6, our goals, engagement, and autonomy. 7, recognition and appreciation. 8, individual emotional agility and stress management. And number 9, healthy performance mindset. And finally, number 10, leaders' trust and integrity. And obviously, these are just 10 questions, 10 statements that you pondered on, that you looked into. There's many, many more that we do and should ask our veterinary teams to find out more about their well-being. And those 10 questions, they were a little snippet of the full-on well-being and culture assessment that I do for the teams. And I very often combine that with the emotional intelligence 360 for the leaders to see how their emotional intelligence connects, impacts, or not the well-being and the culture within the team. So that was a little part of it, but even that can serve you as a little bit of guidance to find out where you are on that map. And why is it so important to narrow down our search, to actually understand where we are on this map? Because there's so much choice out there now, because there are so many different ways of supporting the well-being of the team. And because it's so much choice there, we can get overwhelmed. What should I do for my team? What should I focus on first? Should I support the psychological safety of the team? Or maybe should I help them with their goals? Or maybe I should seek better engagement for them? Should I somehow support that engagement? What should I do? Because as we can see, well-being is so multifaceted. So this is why I would love you to be able to focus, to not get overwhelmed with too much choice. You need to know where you are. And this type of assessment, or the full assessment that I do for the teams, is one of the assessments available there. There are many other surveys or ways of assessing your team, but I would definitely encourage you to do it, to find out where you are, so you don't waste your time or finances or energy on the resources that are maybe not the most burning issues, that they wouldn't resolve what is really, really needed there, that wouldn't support the real needs of your team. So I would love you to be able to zoom in to find out what is really, really there, maybe missing. Focus on it and help your team with it. And then the second question, once we actually know where we are at, that, okay, this is how our team is very strong. This is how our leaders are very strong in building well-being of the team. And this is where maybe we are not the strongest. Maybe this is where we lack something. Once we have that answer, we need to ask the second question. Where do I want to get? What is the ideal towards which we want to work? And we all know that there's no perfection accessible in the world. We will never be perfectly perfect. But we need to have a role model. We need to have something towards which we want to work. A model of excellence. And this is what I would love to show you today and describe it more in detail. Something to aim for. So here are the must-haves of a thriving veterinary team. And the first one that was already on our list is that psychological safety. So a shared belief held by members of a team that a team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking, which is open communication, feedback, asking questions, expressing concerns, seeking feedback. It's all that we actually need for our team to function, but we need to be able to talk about it, to be very open about it without the fear of being ostracized. Then the second element, the must-have, is the belongingness, but not fitting in. There's a difference between belonging and fitting in. If we try to fit in, we try to change who we are and mimic others to fit in between them, to look the same. Belongingness means that we acknowledge that we are different, and the team acknowledges that we are all different, but we somehow match, that we don't need to put on a mask, that we don't need to pretend, that we can be ourselves, and that is acceptable and utilized in the best possible way. So belongingness, that entails freedom from incivility and conflicts. It also means minimized fear of making mistakes, equality and fairness, respecting each other's dignity, very big topic, dignity, and no blame culture. All of those elements, they are topic for another workshop itself, but crucial, essential for the well-being of the team. Then clear, timely, and safe communication. And it's not only those very practical everyday elements that we repeat, like handovers, or maybe our rota or diary, other elements of the admin. It's not only that it has to be very clear, timely, and safe, but also feedback, the free flow of feedback. So 3F, how I call it, that has to be unlocked. And we can learn how to do that in our team. And also the future plans. We need to be clear on what's going to happen to us. The team members need to know what their future looks like. And then values, talents, and purpose. We talk a lot about values in the leadership courses amongst ourselves, the leaders, and I work with a lot of leaders. So they are very, very well aware of the importance of the values. But in here, what I would like to encourage all of you to make sure that they are truly aligned with the values of your team. And I promise you, there are people on your team who maybe never wondered what their values really are. So discovering those values and then aligning them can be a key to sustaining a really, really robust, resilient team that doesn't crumble, that is very immune to the high employee turnover. And then recognition of the unique individual talents, incredibly important. If we can use our talents, we can achieve the state of flow. And focus on what really matters and why. So the topic of mattering in a workplace, really, really important. Then goals, engagement, and autonomy. What does it mean? It means that we have freedom to choose our goals, that we can really decide, maybe I want to focus on anesthesia, maybe I want to specialize in dentistry, maybe I want to be always a hospital nurse or the prep nurse, because this is what I really want. And I have the freedom to choose it, and it will be supported. And then being supported in growing in the direction that we want. But also taking charge of our own career, that we feel empowered and autonomous to choose those directions, but also make a radical change when it's needed, that we make decisions. And it's not like someone makes decisions for us. And then radical responsibility, practicing it. And again, another vast topic to talk about, but it basically means that I know what is within my power, and I am an adult who takes responsibility for those actions that are within my power. Then recognition, appreciation, another must-have of the thriving veterinary team with highly supported well-being. It means being seen, known, and appreciated by our leaders, but also seen and appreciated by our peers. It means paying attention to one another and showing them in many different ways that I see you and I appreciate what you're doing. And I know that without you in here, this place wouldn't be the same, that we need you in here. And a healthy performance mindset. That includes the topics that are very, very close to our veterinary hearts. Things like perfectionism. In the team where we nurture the healthy performance mindset, we learn how to tame perfectionism, because we know that it can be maladaptive and really harmful to our teams. We also focus on enhancing our growth mindset, that we make mistakes. This is a normal part of being a human being. This is part of life. But this is where we stumble, we get up, and we grow. And we support one another in that standing up and growing. Normalizing mistakes. Non-negotiable mutual support. No gossip or criticism behind somebody's back. That we really have each other's back. And a healthy debrief. And this is where we refrain from venting and moaning and complaining. We know how to release our emotions because we need to do this. It's healthy, but we learn a healthy way to do it. And the final, leaders' trust and integrity. What does it mean? It means that the team has that sense of being an important and indispensable part of this team. Every single individual knows that they are essential in here, and they can express those thoughts and ideas, and they know that they can do that because they trust their leader, and they know that their leader will walk their talk, that they will follow what they promise, and if they cannot follow, they will let them know why. The clarity, having the true professional clarity. And I always teach my leaders that's the most beautiful gift that you can give to your team is the gift of clarity. Without that, we cannot be well. We cannot be healthy in our veterinary teams. So whose responsibility is all this? And when I talk on the topic in my public speaking events, when I have the audience interacting with me, I always ask them, please take a look at that list and tell me which ones do you think depend solely on an individual, so that one person can kind of focus on themselves and manage those elements. And we quickly realize that basically all of them depend on the individual and their individual attitude, energy, focus. And then I ask them, okay, which ones depend on the leaders? Which ones are within the hands of the management, those above us who make decisions? And again, they quickly realize that, honestly, all of them. And then finally, I ask them, okay, do you think that some of those elements depend on the dynamics within the team, the interactions between people, interactions that can support or jeopardize some of those elements? And again, the conclusion is the same, that all those elements, the must-haves of healthy, well performing at the highest level teams, depend on all of those, on the individual, on the team, and on the leaders. And the truth is that none of us is a lonely island with independent environment that we create just for ourselves and we respond just to it. We are not lonely islands. And we are not even archipelagos of islands. Again, close but not attached. No, we are very much codependent in the teams. We are a team. The way we treat our patients, we need to do it together in a very well coordinated way, well orchestrated way, so that we can be truly successful. And that is much more like a coral reef. And for those of you who were lucky to ever see it live, you will know that it's a very, very beautiful world, but incredibly complex. And if one part fails, then the other elements around it suffer, and it can really thrive and be really strong, robust, and resilient only if all those elements support one another and cooperate as one unit. So in very simple words, we are all in this together. And that is actually really powerful, because you might have some team members thinking, oh, I'm just, I don't know, maybe a student nurse or a vet student, or I'm just a postman who comes here from time to time, or I just clean the rooms. Those people might be thinking, I don't have much impact on this workplace. I don't really matter. I don't change much. No, it's not true. They do have impact. We all create together the workplace culture. We all impact one another, our well-being, our performance to an immense degree. We need to be more aware of it. And it's in the hands of the leaders also to make their teammates aware of it, how powerful they are. And we need one another. We truly, truly need one another in this process. And if you ever seen this phenomenon, the Sterling murmuration, you can see that they really, it's a miracle nearly that they can coordinate themselves so well, that they can create this nearly alive one big structure that is made of hundreds and thousands of individuals Just like that sterling murmuration is well coordinated but built of many, many different individuals, the same are our teams. We need to work together. We need to coordinate one another, even though we are individuals. And the secret of the sterling murmuration is that one individual kind of mimics the 7 individuals the closest to them. And this is how they can nearly communicate through mimicking and showing one another what to do. Following somebody's behavior, it's a normal part of our workplace, and it also very much shapes the culture. But also it means that if we are behaving in a certain way, there might be 7 or more people around us who will observe, who will internalize, and they might mimic what we do. And that is a huge responsibility, because we really shape who are those people around us and how they behave. And if you're a leader, how you interact with others dictates how others will interact with you and one another. Leaders, like I said, they set the tone for the organizational culture, and both effective and ineffective leadership will influence and build organizational culture in the workplace. And we have loads of research showing that now. So we have nothing left than just to truly believe that research. So to summarize that, to put in very simple words, leading veterinary teams, it means interacting with, taking care of, and managing people. And it means creating workplace culture. And if you're a leader, and I was speaking to you a lot in this webinar, you might be thinking, okay, great. That sounds reasonable, but also very complex and quite daunting, to be honest, and challenging. And how can I do this? And what can I do specifically as a leader to support the well-being of my team? If you are wondering that, if this is the question that you have for me, we will meet in the second webinar when I will help you to answer that question and show you how powerful you are in truly shaping the well-being of your team. So thank you so much, everyone who joined this webinar. You can find me here under behumansavvy.com. And please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or via email that you can find on that website, to ask me any questions that come to your mind. I'm really, really curious about your feedback. And I hope that that was helpful in a way that it showed you what to look for, what to be attuned to, what to pay attention to within your team. And certainly finding out where you are at now, it's incredibly helpful. And then choosing the right direction. And you can do so much. You've got so much power on your hands. So don't be afraid to use it in the best possible way. Thank you so much.